Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we're lucky enough to have a great guest joining us. Cris Villar, you did tell me like 2 seconds ago, who is co-founder of Landbot. Hello, Cris. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. Excited to have this conversation. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know you're very busy. So for those who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
Yeah, of course. My name is Cris. I'm from Spain. I live in Madrid at the moment. This is a Spanish startup, Landbot. And Landbot is a platform that allows you to create chatbots. And the way we put it is that it allows you to create conversational experiences that are actually revenue driven, and that's the main differentiation that we have from other players in the space. And I'm leading the success support and sales organizations within the company. So teaming up with our VP marketing, we're basically on the go to market side of things, and then obviously on the other side, it's product and development and data and all these teams. And yeah, that's what I do. I lead around 25, 26 people in these teams, and yeah, just trying to bring people closer to companies through conversations.
Not for the faint of heart, your job, is it? It must be quite stressful sometimes.
kind of, yeah. Frontline is always stressful.
So how did you get into that? Was it something that you like, do you think, oh, do you know what? When I grow up, I want to be the CEO of a company one day. I want to be an entrepreneur. Or was it just happenstance that you managed to get into that?
Right. So it's an interesting question. So I studied economics at university, and I was trying to get into, consultancy, banking, all these things. And at the same time, I was creating a project with one of my friends. That was my first company, my previous company. And we were lucky enough to enter an acceleration program, the biggest one here in Spain, in Valencia. And I think, to me in particular, that sort of, made that click. And I went from wanting to work in corporate businesses and have that career path to just building something and meeting other people that are trying to build something. We moved to a different city, and it was just getting into the entrepreneurial world in literally 3 days that we moved to Valencia. So we developed that project for like a year and a half or so. It wasn't that successful. It was a glassware design firm. So not really, I mean, you can call it a startup, but to me, it was more like a traditional business. And at that time in that acceleration program, I met my current co-founder and CEO of Landbot, Jackie Pan. He was also the CEO of another project, and by 2015 we had closed our businesses, both of us, and we just got back together and started. Not really with Landbot, with something else. We can dive deeper into that later on. But yeah, that's how it all started. So it was a matter of luck, I would say. We just, we applied for the program, we got in, and everything changed. And the whole mindset changed for all of us, really.
So can you you talked a little bit about your journey. Can you just elaborate a little bit? So you've had a number of, you say lucky, but I think like you've obviously had some skill to be able to do it. So you had some setup companies, you had some startup companies and some additional projects. What eventually led you to Landbot?
We started, so when, again, we were part of the same accelerator, Jackie and I. And then by 2015, we were doing nothing. We just shut down our businesses, and we had this conversation where he told me, "Hey, Cris, I'm thinking about starting something new, and it's around conversational commerce." And I was like, "What is that?" And it's important to say that Jackie is Chinese. So he spent like 12 years in China and then came to Europe, first Austria, I think, for a few years, and then Spain. So when he was saying conversational commerce, it really meant, trying to leverage what was happening in China with WeChat here in Europe. And it's incredible because even, the level at which WeChat was 10 years ago, it's probably going to take us at least 5 to 6 years more here in Europe to, in any Western country to get there. But there, conversational commerce was a thing. People were buying stuff out of instant messaging. It was crazy, This way from social media to instant messaging had taken place like 5 or 6 years before there in China. And he was like, yeah, I'm starting this project, and I want to create a butler in WhatsApp. So it's basically a phone number you can message to, and you can order anything. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. I would love you to join and take care of all the operations. And I said, yeah, of course. So that's how it started. It was the B2C model. It was a WhatsApp concierge and just a phone number. You would message to get food, to get flight tickets, to get anything really, answer questions answered, anything. And the business model was commission based. So you send me a message, you want a hamburger, you give me all the details, I make that order for you, and I charge a fee for that. And it was a beautiful model, really, because it's a B2C, high volume. People were super excited about it, and we ended up scaling that to like 20 people in the operations. Just answering messages manually, and it was super interesting, but at the same time it was a top business model, a really really top business model. We're talking 5 to 10% commissions on, I think our average order was like $20 or something like that. So scaling that was really a nightmare. And there were all other players in Europe. We had in Germany, we had Operator doing the same thing there in Germany. We had Magic in the US. Maybe some people heard of that, doing it through SMS. Our main distinction was that we were using WhatsApp. And WhatsApp in 2015. So no APIs, no anything, and we had like 20 people connected to the same phone number answering questions. And that's the key thing. So we developed our own platform to handle these WhatsApp conversations. And at one point, we had to make the decision. Again, it was a very top business model, difficult to scale. You needed money or technology. Money was not there, and technology wasn't there either. So now we all think about AI. That was not the case in 2015. So we had this other option, which was, hey, already some companies have shown interest in having a platform to talk to their customers via WhatsApp. And we've built that. So why don't we just, pivot and transform into a SaaS business, a B2B SaaS business, which we knew nothing about. But it made sense. We had heard that it was a very predictable business model. Investors loved it. So if you want to get funding, it's the way to go. There's already early interest. There's an unfair advantage, which is being able to connect WhatsApp, because it was not possible at the time. So that's how we moved from a B2C WhatsApp butler into a SaaS B2B platform that allowed companies to integrate their WhatsApp numbers and talk to their users, mostly for customer service. So from that point until Landbot, a couple things happened. So first, we realized how exposed we were to WhatsApp. And this is something that, I love business models where you are able to leverage a platform. So you don't really have to build that demand organically. You just get along with it. Imagine you're building a plugin for Salesforce. That's awesome. And you can really get a lot of traction in no time if you really solve a problem. But at the same time, you're completely dependent on what Salesforce do, right? And that's what happened to us with WhatsApp. They had no official integration. So every week, I would say, every other week, they would just ban every single number. So every single number from our customers would get blocked. And we have to start from scratch again. So we were like, all right, we need our own channel. We need to have control over everything. Let's create a live chat. What a great idea, right? There were like 150 live chat solutions out there, but we decided to create our live chat. So, whenever something goes off with WhatsApp, we can also have this additional channel for our customers. But it was just a regular, honestly, at the time, I remember Intercom was already pretty big. If you compared our live chat to Intercoms, they were, I love Intercom. I'm a big fan. I think they built an incredible product, and it was incredible 10 years ago. So really, it was hard for us to market that. It was hard for us to, other than having WhatsApp on the side, it was difficult. And there's this interesting story, and I'm sorry if I'm extending myself a bit too much, but I think it's interesting. One day, the live chat widget, and you can imagine a website and just, widget, you click and you open the chat window. For some reason, the iframe went crazy and it went full screen. Basically, the only way for visitors to interact with that website was through the chat. What we saw was a crazy conversion rate. Obviously, you cannot scroll, you cannot do anything on the website, you can only use the live chat. It was our problem, but it got us thinking, hey, why don't we sort of try out this concept? Why don't we build full page conversational experiences? So it's not a website plus a live chat with a chat bot. No. It's the whole thing. You just get there and it's a conversation, and you get to choose, what you want to see, what you want to buy, what you want to ask, and that's how Landbot was born. We launched that concept in I think it was 2017 in Product Hunt. Product Hunt was again was critical for our early success. It was the perfect timing. The Meta chatbot platform had opened like a year ago. Everybody was talking about chatbots. It was like the perfect storm, and we released these. Hey, multiply your conversion rate, full page conversational experience, and and everything started growing like crazy compared to what we had in the past. So that's sort of how we went from this what's a butler B2C model to, hey, let's sell our own platform that we built to do this, and then let's add another channel and let's experiment with that channel to the level of providing something that no one had ever provided before, which is a full page conversational experience. And that's how Landbot was born, really. It was so successful that we just changed everything: the name, the product, the price, and everything was just Landbot at the time.
That's really interesting that you say that. I'm actually quite curious about the effect of the pandemic because a lot of companies, especially online companies, they really made or break at that particular time. How did that affect you in your particular situation?
So it was record level of churn rate, but absolutely completely record of new businesses also joining. So it was a tough time. We didn't really know what's going to happen. But at the same time, we knew that, we're in a space where, people would just go online, everyone, businesses and consumers. So we were super lucky to be in that space. E-commerces and any business that didn't have a communication channel with their users online, they were just looking like crazy for live chat solutions and chatbots and these and that. So for us, it was, again, losing a lot of customers because of the situation, and we're targeting SMB. So they were hurt the most. But at the same time, our growth was really, really good during that time. We didn't have to fire anyone. It was great. It was tough, and everyday numbers would just multiply by 5, both the good and the bad. But for us, it was a great opportunity for growth. I think it was like a forced digitalization for many businesses, and we were right there in the middle of the storm. So
Nice sometimes, isn't it? When even in a bad situation, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, right? So you mentioned earlier a little bit about AI. So I can imagine when you first started, you've got loads of people there sitting there answering the customer queries. Did you move to AI? Will you move to AI? And what are your concerns about it, or what are you excited about in terms of AI?
Yeah, we do have AI now in our product ever since I think it was November 2022 or something like that OpenAI released the first model. We started adding layers of AI to our product. Well, that's a very interesting topic. I'll give you my personal opinion on where AI is right now and our positioning as a chatbot company. I usually compare these to the websites in the early 2000s. Like, people just needed to have a website. They didn't really know why. They just had to have one, right? It was the same, in probably 2005 with social media. Hey, companies need to be in social media. Why? I don't know. We just need to be there. Then we had live chats in the 2010. Then we had chatbots in 2015. And now it's AI, right? Everybody's jumping on the hype like, yeah, we need AI. And we got, you wouldn't believe how many prospects that get to talk to our sales team. And they're like, I need AI. They don't really know what they're talking. They just see chatbot company. I need AI. What do you need it for? I don't really know. So I think we're in that stage that's changing rapidly, but we are still in that stage where people think of AI as an end rather than a mean. And I think that's what needs to change for any new technology or any new trend to establish. I think things are changing, but today it's still a little bit like that. We are just talking AI because we want a higher valuation. We want to increase our prices, or, we want to differentiate from competitors. But honestly, everyone's talking about AI right now. So we did incorporate that in the product, and then ever since OpenAI launched the first model. But it was not all or nothing. It was more like a gradual, some features, some very specific blocks within the builder, with AI capabilities, because we've always believed that. It's if AI is going to help your process, your conversational process, then add it. If not, don't do it. You don't need AI for everything. I always put this example. Would you use even a chatbot, not even AI, for like a login process? You wouldn't, right? You just need username and password. Some people might come and say, I want AI in my login process. No, you don't. And it's proven that the conversion rate is not even higher. And we've done this test, really, really simple lead generation chatbots with and without AI. I mean, it really depends on the use case, okay? But most of the time, regular linear decision tree based chatbots perform way better than AI. If you're in a very complex, lengthy, high price sales process, maybe AI can definitely help in some stages of that process through conversations that are deeper. And then but most of the time AI is just that secret weapon that you have there, but it cannot be the whole thing, and it's not supposed to be the whole thing. But we do use AI. I would say right now it's still 80% of our customer base is not using AI. 20% of it is, although it's growing rapidly. But yeah, that's our current state with
Are
artificial
you quite?
intelligence.
It kind of reminds me of and forgive me, I'm not sure if you're old enough, but dot-com boom. I don't know if you remember the dot-com boom, where everyone just had to have a website, didn't really care what was the use of it, just had to have one because that's what everyone else was having. Does it feel kind of like that? We were living the same kind of idea as we just want to have it without really giving any care and consideration to why we want it.
Yeah, I would say 100%, 100%. And I mean, it's always like that. We've seen that with chatbots when we first launched Landbot. People just wanted a chatbot. They didn't really had a process in mind or anything. And I think eventually that will change. Although, I was reading this morning this article from SaaStr, which is like a great source of content for anyone really. But if you're in the SaaS industry, that's great. It was an article that I think it was named something like, "Do AI SDRs work at all?" There's this craze with AI SDRs, like stop hiring SDRs. I mean, just plug in some AI there and let them do the job. Honestly, I don't think that's. I mean, I think that we might get somewhere soon, but today, people are obsessed with AI and they just want to save costs. But I'm telling you, I've had proposals from AI companies for the sales space whose cost was actually higher than hiring people. So and the quality, we need to pay attention to the quality of that work and how saturated some processes are, like outbound processes, and how many people reach out to us every day through LinkedIn and email and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love AI. We use it every day. We are in love with it. I think it's not going to change the world. It's changed the world already. But for most businesses, I think they first need to think about instant messaging, chat communication with users. Some companies are still using phone and email. Why in the hell would you, start with AI straight away? Just put a live chat there and then see how people interact with it, and then see if it makes sense.
What's your feedback from stakeholders as regards to AI versus dealing with people directly in help chat? Some people, I don't know if it's a generation gap as well. I think younger people, they're kind of just more accepting of AI, but old people tend to want to have those in-depth conversations, and there's a human at the other end. Have you got that kind of feedback? Have you got those statistics, and what are they telling you?
I think what you said is true, but at the same time, especially like really old people, sometimes tend to believe more that AI conversations are actually real conversations. So while younger people accept more that the technology is coming and is here to help, older people are fooled the most. So I would say more than the age range, for example, which is something that plays an important role. I would say it's a use case more. If you are talking to to your financial, to your bank or something, and there's this classic screenshot from PayPal's chatbot, where someone asks like, "Hey, I just got scammed," and the chatbot is like, "Great, let me find a," So I think it really depends on where, what use case and what industry you're talking about. If it's very sensitive information like the medical industry, educational, I think it really depends on the industry and the use case more than who's that for. But yeah, I think you're right. I think younger people are more used to these automated thingies that they don't know if there's AI or not behind, but and older people are probably more skeptical, even with the chat format itself. I wouldn't say it's AI. I think it's the channel, and they would rather make a call or send an email than just chat with an entity online.
Perfect. So we've talked here about the past and the present. Now the future. What does the future look like for Landbot? Are there any primary focal points or ongoing projects or endeavors that you can outline for us?
Yeah, there's Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, leaving AI aside, I think we've continued to work a lot on AI. We have like 30% of our engineering resources focused on the AI at the moment, and that will still be the case for the next year at least. I would say in general, Landbot positions itself as a specialist in lead generation, and I think there's something super interesting happening in the lead generation space. And I think it's very interesting because it applies to any business, really. Any business, every business is trying to get people, grab their attention, send them somewhere else to convince them to do anything, and then just make money out of it. So it's a huge market, and that's what we're positioning ourselves there. So in our case, what we're seeing in the recent years is that there's such a competition in the space. Obviously prices have skyrocketed in Meta ads, for example. People are crazy about finding new ways to acquire leads and to acquire customers. The e-commerce craze that we had 10 years ago, that's the past already. It's super competitive, super difficult, and very expensive to get leads. And we're starting to see how people are starting to shift focus from the amount, the quantity, to the quality. And we are really trying to focus there. Let me put you an example. So we get a lead generation agency that's having a crazy amount of budget and campaigns running on Meta, TikTok, Google Ads, everything. 3-4 years ago, they would just optimize for CPL, the best cost per lead they can get, and they just sell and sell and sell and sell as many leads as they can to a telco company or an energy company. Right now there's such a competition, and CPLs have grown so much that it's no longer, hey, you pay me by the number of leads, but you pay me by the quality of it. So sort of, the conversion of those leads is implicit in the cost of the lead. And I think that's a completely, it's a game changer for the industry. And it's very interesting for us. Why? Because, we cannot compete with instant forms like Meta. I mean, they're always going to get favored. If you've ever tried to acquire a lead or a customer or whatever using Meta ads, if you don't use their native form, it's going to be way more expensive. So you cannot compete there. They're just incentivizing that. How? We don't know. It's not even official, right? But in this world of conversion, of a very short attention span and all these, complexities of users interacting with websites and businesses online, quality is key. And I think we've identified a few, playbooks where, in combination with all the existing processes of lead acquisition, we can really increase that later conversion rate. Not only the conversion rate until they become a lead or a contact, but until they actually buy. More like a full cycle experience instead of just generating leads. And I think this is interesting because we work with a lot of marketing agencies, and they all highlight the same thing. The world is changing, and in the way businesses acquire and convert leads and customers online, and we have a strong focus on that side. I don't know if that response was really, really clear, to be honest, Barry. But
yes, it was perfectly clear. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We are unfortunately coming towards the end of the interview, but I always like to get one question in, which is about, what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs, people who are maybe getting in at the early stage and they don't have the experience that you've had? What would be like the key selling points or the best piece of advice that you could give them?
it's 3 years ago, I would have said a different thing. I would have said, yeah, just go for it and work hard. And, I think we also need to be realistic here. Every day, there's more and more and more and more young people trying to launch businesses, and it's getting more and more competitive. And now, even in the funding space, VCs are favoring folks with experience as opposed to 10 years ago when a 17-year-old with a great idea could get funded. Now things are changing. So I would say, whatever you're building in whichever space, try to partner or at least get super close to someone who's been there, who's done that, who can bring in that experience and that credibility whenever you're talking to stakeholders. It's not the most, inspiring and beautiful advice, but at the end of the day, I think, these guys that are really successful building companies, they usually, face the problem during 10, 15, 20 years at a set of big corporations, and then they build a solution for that. It's super hard to compete with that, from the get-go, just, because you had a great idea. So I would say try to get the best of both worlds. I think it's important to be young and to be energetic and to have passion, to dedicate 16 hours per day to your project. But at the same time, you need that layer of experience, and that's going to help a lot, solving problems, convincing stakeholders, and overall just being successful when you're trying to build something. Yeah, that would be it.
A nice, perfect, and practical piece of advice there, Cris. Thank you so much. So again, I just want to thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
That was Cris Villar, co-founder of Landbot.